This is a special presentation of EA Sports from the Coliseum in Oakland. Our tribute to the coach, the John Madden Legacy Game. I'm Brandon Gaudin here to take you through the proceedings. And coming up, we're going to tell the story of a man who was truly larger than life and whose impact on the sport of football, certainly it's going to live on for decades and decades to come. Now, we've assembled a couple of rosters featuring some of Coach's favorite players from both yesterday and today. And Coach himself will be on the sidelines for both squads, trying to motivate his guys to victory. And I'm joined now by my good friend Charles Davis. CD, your thoughts on John Madden and what he meant to the sport he loved so much?
For me, Brandon, it's the word joy. He brought that to the game of football, brought the game to so many people. He stayed involved his entire life. And moving forward, when you think of football, you're always going to think John Madden.
One time for old times. What do you say we play some football as we are underway from Oakland in the John Madden Legacy Game? And able to get this across the 20, but not much further as he's dropped it to 23-yard line. So it's the NFC stars who will get the ball first. And Charles, as we alluded to, we've got a different era of coach on each sideline. So the man coaching this NFC squad, and we'll call him Young John Madden, this is a coach who was trying to establish a foothold in the NFL and on the cusp of doing it very successfully.
Yeah, you think back to that period, those early days as a coach of the Raiders, the late 60s in the AFL and then in the NFL. Coach was a guy who was ahead of his time. The Raiders were one of the first teams to have mini camps, one of the first to film practice, because he wanted to practice coaching as much as he could. And his teams, they were successful right from the start of his head coaching tenure.
Finding space at the 40. Now he's loose at the 40. Inside the 20. Touchdown. A big play there. 77 yards. And the NFC has taken the early lead. First play from scrimmage all the way into the end zone. Look, the pass was good, but that run after the catch, that's what was really impressive.
And I think the big question I have is, where were the safeties? Where was the tackling? Because going into this game, they had to know that they were going to be tested. That was a part of the defense that had to stand up. And on that play, not even close.
Morton Anderson now for the extra point. His kick is good, and the NFC goes up 7-0. Well, the offense wasn't out there for a long time, but they were out there for a good time. One play, and they're able to hit pay dirt. Following the touchdown, here's Anderson to kick it away. And this will not be returnable. It's out of the back of the end zone for a touchback. So, Charles, as mentioned, we've got another Coach Madden over here on the AFC sideline. Of course, his Raiders, members of the AFC West. So this is a conference he battled in for his entire career. And you think about the landscape of the NFL as he was getting into the back half of his tenure. It was a golden era for coaches. You had Don Shula, Tom Landry, Chuck Noll, Bud Grant. But it was John Madden who had the best winning percentage of them all, CD. 759, the best ever.
Brandon, it's hard to believe he could be so successful in a conference with all those great teams. The Steelers won 4 Super Bowls. The Dolphins won 2 and were a mainstay in the playoffs. The Colts were tough. The Broncos came on late and went to a Super Bowl themselves. But against Hall of Fame coaches, John Madden's record, 36-16-2. That's pretty incredible. His Raiders were a factor each and every year.
Another 6-yard carry, same as last play. First down. So as we mentioned at the top, well, let's take you through the life of John Madden. And, you know, it's very fitting that we're here back in the Bay Area, not just because John's so associated with Raider football, but also because this was where he spent his formative years.
Yeah, he grew up over in Daly City with his buddy John Robinson, who would also become an NFL head coach. And he played his high school ball at Jefferson High, eventually wound up playing tackle at the University of Oregon, and later Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. Played well enough that in 1958, he was a 21st round draft pick of the Philadelphia Eagles. That's right, the draft had 30 rounds then.
But Charles, you mentioned Coach was a 21st round draft pick back in 1958. It was the Philadelphia Eagles who selected him. But unfortunately for John, knee problems, they just continued to dog him. He was hurt in his first training camp, actually never saw the field as a player in the NFL. But it was still during his time with the Eagles. You and I were talking about this before going on air, where you could start to see the light bulb going on for what his career path might entail.
And it went on in a big way, didn't it? Because while he was rehabbing his knee, he started to spend a lot of time breaking down film with the Eagles, with quarterback Norm Van Brocklin, the future Hall of Famer and future head coach in the NFL. Remember, Norm Van Brocklin coached with the Falcons, he coached with the Vikings. And it was there, during that time, I think Coach Madden realized his love of football and love for teaching, combining all that together, and that meant being a football coach. So in 1960, began his coaching career at a small college south of San Luis Obispo called Allen Hancock, and then later at San Diego State University under another legendary coach, the guy who could throw it around pretty well, Don Coryell.
Here comes the 8th play of the drive, and they need a full 10 yards on 3rd down. Throwing now is Brady. And he cannot get rid of it. The NFC getting in there for the sack. Michael Strahan coming in to drop him for a loss of 8, and it also brings up 4th. The start of this game shaping up nicely on that visiting sideline.
Yeah, how about that? You get your points on the opening drive, then you get a big sack there on 3rd down, and you make the home crowd go, shh.
There is a hush indeed. And that one hits at the 7, but bounds into the end zone, and that'll be a touchback. And the NFC offense coming out here. And you know, Charles, Coach Madden always said that if he had one drive to win a game and he had to pick a quarterback, he would pick Kenny Stabler. But I think if you asked him to omit any of his Raiders players, there's a good chance the guy he'd select would be Brett Favre.
Brett Favre is always smiling. He's always laughing. He's always talking to someone. He remembers that it's a game. And if it's a game, you should have fun.
And Brandon, that always reminds me of a great movie line where one of the players was telling the coach, every time I say it's a game, you say it's a business. And every time I say it's a business, you say it's a game. With Coach, it was always a game.
Charles, you know, it was in the early 1960s that a young John Madden made the acquaintance of the owner of the Oakland Raiders, one Al Davis, of course, and the two, they really bonded, would become one of the best owner-coach duos in NFL history. And to take it a step further, Al Davis became someone who John referred to as his best friend.
Yeah, in 1967, Brandon, Al Davis hired Coach Madden to be a linebackers coach. Remember, this was still the AFL at that point. We had not merged totally with the NFL. And Coach Madden, he paid dividends almost immediately. Helped the Raiders win the AFL title in 1968. And that meant a date with the Green Bay Packers in what was now known as Super Bowl II. But by 1969, at the age of 32, just 32, Brandon, John Madden assumed the mantle of head coach of the Oakland Raiders. And what a ride the Raiders, in the NFL were about to go on.
The NFC with the football here to begin the second quarter. They'll need 5 on this play to move the sticks, as they've got it with a 3rd down coming up. Throwing is far. Going up top for Kupp. And this is caught right along the sideline. What a job of keeping the toes in bounds there. A big gain of 39 on 3rd.
We always talk about the guy who paid off the play, don't we? A guy who caught it or ran it. But how about the elements that go into making a big play? This one in particular, able to scan the field, pocket held up nicely. What a terrific job by the offensive line. The route, well run, and the football, right on the money.
So the big play gets him all the way down to the outskirts of the red zone here for 1st and 10. They'll run with Sanders up the middle. Charles, you talked about John Madden and the Raiders going on a ride. Try these numbers on for size. So 10 seasons as a head coach, The Raiders won their division 7 times. They finished second the other 3 times, and he became the youngest coach to amass 100 career regular season victories and is still, to this day, the franchise leader in wins.
And when you think about it, that's where that rivalry with Kansas City really took root, as did the expression commitment to excellence. And boy, was it personified by the players who played for Coach Madden. On offense, how about quarterback Kenny Stabler, wide receiver Cliff Branch, wide receiver Frank Linton, called tight end Dave Casper, to name a few. How about those great linemen he had? Center Jim Otto, guard Gene Upshaw, tackle Art Shell, all of them in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And guys on the defensive side of the ball, the Mad Stork himself, Ted Hendricks, Willie Brown, John Matuzak, Otis Sistrunk, and Big Ben Davidson. So many great players, so many great memories.
He'll have a tough time living that one down. It's one thing, Charles, to drop a pass. It's quite another to drop it on 4th down.
And so many teams work on that in terms of locking in on those key downs. I've seen, you and I both been to practices where we've seen, hey, 3rd down situation, big 3rd down alert, lock in here, 4th down play, make sure you focus just a little bit extra. It didn't pay off in that situation.
Now a first carry for their fullback. Charles, you think about all the success that John Madden had as an NFL head coach, and he had plenty, and we talked about it, including the 10 straight winning seasons, a Super Bowl title. But like any great coach, he also suffered through a few tough losses along the way as well.
And Brandon, those tough losses came in high-stakes games because they always had such great success. Think about it this way. 6 times in his 10 years, the Raiders were knocked out in either the AFL championship game or the AFC championship game. But might be a divisional round exit. That's the one that bothered him most of all. Three River Stadium, December 1972. Yes, the Immaculate Reception game. Franco Harris grabbing the ball that was deflected. Almost at his shoe tops, he picked it up and took it in for a game-winning score to give the Steelers a 13-7 victory. And partner, anyone who loves black and silver still doesn't believe that ball hit anyone in black and silver that day, and that play should never have counted.
Just a 1-yard gain on the play, and that'll mean a call to the punt team as it's 4th down.
Absolutely love the effort there. The ability to flow from his inside spot and stop that one at the line of scrimmage. Nice linebacker play.
On is the Hall of Famer Ray Guy to punt this away on 4th down. On the return, Hester. He juked him. Good blocking there, nearly sprung him. As it is, it'll go as a 19-yard return. And the NFC will take over 1st and 10. And the NFC heading back out. Hall of Famer Randy Moss, a part of this offense. And Coach Madden, boy, he always appreciated the ferociousness with which number 84 attacked the football in the air.
As Randy Moss says, just chunk it up there, dog, and I'll go get it.
And, Coach, boy, did he ever go get it. Over 15,000 receiving yards, 156 touchdowns. And how about this? From his rookie year of 1998 until 2009, those were his prime seasons, right? He led the league in touchdowns 5 times, but even more so, he showed us all how to go up and get it. Great body control. No one's ever done it better playing the ball in the air.
Right off the bat, it's a 1st down to start the drive, 12 yards. What makes a draw play like that successful?
Well, we did see where he made the first wave miss, and that was a big part of it. But a lot of it is just being actors back there, making the defense think it's going to be a pass.
First and 10, it's Favre. He's going to drop this down to Sanders. And he's going to be taken down right at the 40-yard line. Now the NFC going to call the first of their 3 timeouts. as it'll come with 36 ticks to go in half number one. In need of only about the length of the football here on second down. And once again, this is Sanders. And they're going to work this down to about the 32-yard line. From the 32 now, here's 1st and 10. To throw is Favre. Over the middle, that's hauled in by Cup. And he's got this down almost to the 20 before he's dropped. And the timeout comes in with 2 seconds remaining. So they can trot out the field goal unit for the try before we hit the lockers. So with 2 ticks left here in the half, on is the field goal unit. The Hall of Famer's kick is good, and that will do it for them. Coming up in the second half, we'll run through John's post-coaching triumphs. But for now, we present a special tribute to the man of the hour, narrated by the Raiders' own Trey Mosley.
What comes to mind when you hear the name Madden? Is it the coach who led the Raiders to their first Super Bowl victory? Perhaps it's the broadcaster who entertained millions of fans. Or maybe it's the video game known simply by his name. But no matter what comes to mind when you hear the name Madden, everyone thinks of one thing: football.
The core of it was football. It's the greatest game in the world. The left goes to the right goes to the left.
Madden is on the field. He wants to know if it's real. John Madden goes on the shoulders of his players.
In my mind, John Madden is the most important figure in the history of professional football. Show me somebody else who did it on 3 levels the way John did it. There's nobody.
Boy, Charles, yeah, that is really well done. Coach was something else, wasn't he?
I'm reminded what Al Davis said when he was inducted coach of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, Brandon. He loved the game. He loved his team. He loved the Raiders. He loved this league. And you can see it with everything he does.
No doubt. But it's quite possible, though, that now he would say, hey, enough of that. Let's play some football. The second half forthcoming from Oakland. Now the AFC offense heading back out. You know, Charles, Coach really loved to utilize his tight ends in the passing game. You think about Dave Casper, Hall of Famer for those great Raider teams. And I think he saw a lot of Dave Casper in an all-Madden staple, Tony Gonzalez.
Tony Gonzalez is the type of tight end I think everyone's looking for. He's a guy that can make some big plays from that tight end position. Let me tell you, you better make sure you have him accounted for on every play.
And that's exactly right, because Dave Casper, he could shred defenses down the middle of the field. And that's exactly what Tony Gonzalez did in his entire career. A 14-time Pro Bowl selection. Only Tom Brady has more. There are 6 guys in the 15,000-yard receiving club. He's the only tight end in there. Tony Gonzalez, every snap he had to know where he was because he could make plays short, medium, and long, and often put the ball in the end zone.
He is going to find Hill here. And able to get this one across the 45 before he's brought down. That his first catch so far. They've held him under wraps, but he's got a first down there. So now, Charles, to pick up the story we've been telling, John Madden at 42. He just completed a 10-year stint as the coach of the Raiders. He wants to step away a bit from the grind of coaching, but he doesn't want to step away from the game of football. So he ends up signing on with CBS in 1979 to try his hand at broadcasting. And much like his coaching career, he was pretty much an instant success.
Partner, he really connected with the people right from the start. And people may not remember, he wasn't even on the #1 team in the beginning. He worked his way up. But the same things that made him a great coach made him a great broadcaster. The ability to show the big picture, yet break it down into the details. That's what he did with his teams. That's what he did with the people. That way, he was simple to understand, yet insightful for viewers. And he did with that big personality that he had, one that connected with everyone.
So for Coach Madden, Charles, by 1981, his broadcasting career is really taking off. He's elevated to the network's #1 booth that calls all the big matchups. And he gets the plum assignment of calling Super Bowl 16, 49ers and Bengals, and he's teamed up with Pat Summerall. And that pairing ultimately would go on to be one of the most influential in sports broadcasting history.
Influential not just in us listening to them. Remember, they went on to call 8 Super Bowls together, but how they put together kind of the template that all of us broadcasters follow now. Sitting down with the head coaches and the quarterbacks and the stars of each team before a ball game to get extra information.
Touchdown! Tony Gonzalez, 36 yards. And the AFC able to cut it to within a score. So it took them a little while, Charles, but now they have their first points of the game, and they come here in this third quarter.
And more often than not, Brandon, when that happens, you find yourself down 21, 28 points, and not really with a lot of hope. But with that touchdown, they're right back in this game.
Vinatieri able to tack on the PAT. And they'll cut it to 3 at 10-7. So that drive 6 plays, 75 yards. And it ends with an AFC touchdown from the 10. And he won't quite make it to the 25. Ready to begin their next drive here, the NFC offense. But Charles, they still have the lead despite their defense giving up a touchdown on the previous possession. And even though they have that lead, it feels like a back-and-forth ball game where to try to get momentum back, maybe they need at least 3 here on this drive.
I think you're right about that, Brandon, because your game plan doesn't change. But I do believe your urgency does because of the last score that went against your team. So what you want to do now is have your own drive and try and make sure that momentum stays in your camp.
Javon Curse. He's the one that got home and takes him down for a loss of 9.
And we all know how talented this guy is who's calling the signals for him. But even the best in the game, they can struggle against a good, cohesive zone coverage. Can't find a gap in the secondary quick enough, and he ends up taking a sack.
Here's Favre to throw. This one into the hands of Kittle, the tight end. As you mentioned, CD, talking about John Madden, the broadcaster, he called 8 Super Bowls with Pat Summerall, 3 more with Al Michaels later in his career. He spent nearly 3 decades in the booth all told. And not only was he beloved for his mannerisms, we know that, but he was an innovator as well.
Yeah, Brandon, you talk about things like the telestrator, which totally became identified with him, and now it's a staple for all analysts to have in the booth. And then you think about things like turducken on Thanksgiving, when he used words like boom and pow. He helped create the old Madden team. He was a very popular commercial pitch man. And even the Madden Cruiser was unique, and you had to be someone to get a ride on it, too.
So on the other side of the field now, it's 1st and 10 as they've got things rolling on this drive. On the draw, here's Sanders, and he is going to lose yardage here. He'll lose a yard there, and it's 2nd and 11. Now, CD, we did get a little ahead of ourselves talking about John Madden, the broadcaster in the 90s and 2000s, because there was another product during that time period that he became quite famous for, and it's something that you and I know a little bit about, and that's the video game that bears his name. Originally John Madden Football when it was first released back in the late 1980s, and now known the world over simply as Madden.
And Coach saw this originally as a way to teach the game of football. The early designs were for a 7-on-7 game, but he said no chance. He would not sign off on it. He wanted to be as realistic as possible. He told them, call me when it's 11-on-11, and he got his wish.
Yeah, after that debut, Madden the video game continued to pick up steam through the 90s in a big way, and John himself, many will remember, was a commentator for the series for many years. And now here we are in the 2020s, and this game has sold somewhere in the neighborhood of 150 million copies. Now looking for a lane, but none to be found for Sanders as they stop him short of the line to gain. They'll try and throw for it with Favre. And able to haul it in is Kittle. And finally down he goes as they work it inside the 10 to the 7. So it's the NFC with the football as we welcome you back. Now a chance to make that big play really hurt. It's 1st and goal just outside the 5. They'll run with Sanders. Looking for a seam, but finding none. He'll get back to the line of scrimmage, and that's it. And now we're going to get a timeout defensively. So another stop. 1:50 left in the football game. Have to imagine this will be on the ground as well as they come up 2nd and 7. Once again with Sanders. Now the AFC going to take a timeout. It's their second as they'll head to the sideline and talk over what to do next. A lot of tired bodies on that field, but this is a big play. 3rd and goal. Now Favre. The quick slant caught. Now the defense will burn their 3rd and final timeout as they'll head to the sideline and talk over what to do next. Going for it with Sanders. And he will carry this one in. Touchdown NFC. A great effort there with his 2nd touchdown of the afternoon. And the NFC is in for 6. Well, he finishes off the drive with a touchdown run, Charles. Remember, he also had a catch on this drive as well.
And that's what running backs want to be in today's NFL, a complete back. 3 down, stay on the field, run it, and catch it. And he gets it done.
Now to try to add the extra point, the lefty Anderson. It's good to make it 17-7. That one in the books as a 12-play drive. And Barry Sanders the one to finish it off as he does so with a touchdown run. Following the touchdown, here's Anderson to kick it away. This one fielded at the 5. And no alley to be found. The coverage was solid, and he's dropped at the 18. The AFC offense set to take their next drive. So remember, Charles, last time they were out here, they scored, but they just saw the opposition score, and they're trailing right now, so they're trying to keep pace here. They need a touchdown drive.
Well, if you're a fan of offense, you're loving this, but if you're a fan of defense, this is tough to watch, and it's also tough to keep that up when you just watch your opponent march down the field on a scoring drive that lasts into double-digit snaps. You need a score here not just to follow the momentum from your last drive, but put the onus back on your opponent. And that's what they're doing right now, swapping that onus back and forth.
So 1st and 10 now from the 30. Brady to throw. Well, the NFC pressure a little too much as they get home for the sack. Now following the sack, they'll look to make amends on a 2nd down and 17. And they'll get it all the way up about 5 yards shy of midfield. 1st down now, but the clock continues to move. And he'll find Hall. And he is out of bounds, but not before he's inside the 30. That's good for 28 yards. Whether it's a touchdown or a field goal, whatever it is, they need to score quickly here on 1st down. To throw is Brady. Pressure applied, and he's going to be taken down. They sack him back at the 33-yard line. And that'll be incomplete with 11 seconds remaining now. A long way to go here on 3rd down for the 8th play of the drive. Here's Allen. Able to slither by. And he's going to be taken down here with a penalty flag on the field.
Holding offense.
So a decent gain there on the play, but that all gets wiped out with a penalty.
Well, that's a setback, but all the good play callers, they just move on. They find something else in the playbook that can attack this defense, and they go right back on the offensive on this play.
And this third down looking very tough after the holding penalty. 3rd and long. They'll run with Allen. And he'll go down at the 28. So it's a win here for the NFC. Just an incredible afternoon of football and remembering the life of John Madden. And before we go, one final message. And for all of us at EA Sports, this one's for you, Coach.
I just say this, I thank you all very much. This has been the sweetest ride of them all.